Hello everyone, Ollie here from 𝗘𝗵𝗺 Cinema, and don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I'm on the trail end of this treacherous cold that I've had this past week, which is why basically I've put off this ranking video of the Nightmare on Elm Street films for just about over a week now because of the cold. I mean, I'm not in any rush to do the video, but it would have been nice when I was more in the mood, in that mindset to do the video. But due to this horrific cold, and even so much so I didn't even go into university one of those days, is just because of it. So I just didn't have the mental capacity to make the video, and also hadn't watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films up until that point of being ill. So I decided to delay the video until today. But yeah, just thought I'd let you know. So yeah, I'm a little bit bunged up, so I apologise in advance, or well, now really. But yeah, so yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, the 9 films ranking. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit delirious because I've not long woken up, and I thought I'd start recording now. So if I look a bit tired, or yeah, my hair's slightly messy, but screw it. But if I'm a bit all over the place, then I apologise. But I'm here, finally doing the video. I've been anticipating this video for quite a little bit now. Because if you're here for the first time, hello, welcome to 𝗘𝗵𝗺 Cinema. But we have done, when I say we, I mean really me, I've done plenty of horror rankings, horror franchise rankings in the past. First one that I did was the Child's Play franchise. I've also done the Conjuring universe, when The Last Rites came out, the 4th overall Conjuring film came out. The Scream franchise I just recently ranked alongside with Dusty, the co-founder of 𝗘𝗵𝗺 Cinema, because we reviewed Scream 7, the latest installment, and alongside our review we ranked all now current 7 films. So that's there if you're interested in seeing our thoughts on the franchise as a whole. But yeah, my plans, including with this one, Nightmare on Elm Street, the next horror franchise ranking that I'm planning to do is Friday the 13th, because of course there is a crossover film in this franchise, Freddy vs. Jason. And I thought, well, because not only Freddy and Jason Voorhees are horror icons, because they have a crossover film in both their franchises, I thought, why the hell not? Because I now have all of their films on my shelf, and I actually have the Blu-rays here. So I have the first 7, I don't know if you can read that, yeah, the first 7 nightmares, so from the original till Wes Craven's New Nightmare on here, so 7 films in this small ass case, which is really handy. Freddy vs. Jason on DVD, couldn't find it anywhere on Blu-ray because it's quite hard to find in the UK, unless you want to pay an absolute fortune on eBay. And then the 2010 remake, which I found in my local CEX. If you don't know what CEX is for people abroad, then search it up. It's basically a second-hand shop where you can buy DVDs, Blu-rays, games, electronics, etc. So, yeah. So I've got all the Freddy films and Nightmare on Elm Street films here, and then also do have the Friday the 13th films, which I'll show you when I do my ranking, hopefully, for the Friday the 13th films. So, that's my plan, but I don't know when we're going to be able to do the Friday the 13th, because obviously there's more films in the Friday the 13th franchise, and at the moment, with revolving around work and everything for me, I'm trying to, watch the films and try and take in notes, and doing all these things, it's kind of difficult, but I've only just been able to do this video now for Nightmare on Elm Street, so who knows when I'm going to be able to do the Friday the 13th ranking. Obviously, it all comes down to when I finish watching all 12 films. Kind of wish it was 13, but anyway, all those 12 films I have to finish, and obviously get to that video, that ranking video. But yeah, in the meantime, A Nightmare on Elm Street, here we are. Oh, but before I do get into the ranking for all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, bit of announcement. Fingers crossed, this weekend, hopefully we'll have another Out of the Cinema review this weekend. And it'll be Project Hail Mary, because as you can see here, I've got the book for Project Hail Mary. Yeah, obviously Project Hail Mary, new adaptation with Ryan Gosling in the film. And I've not heard very much about the film itself, but obviously I'm reading the book. I'm on chapter 3. I bought the book yesterday, and I'm already on chapter 3, which for me is great because I'm not the biggest book reader. But I'm hoping to finish this book by, well, this weekend now, when I go watch it with 𝗫𝗫𝗃, but also hopefully with Dusty, but depending on what his plans are. It'd be great if we can get another trio video, because obviously the last one was Anaconda, obviously at the end of last year. So it'd be great to have another trio video, but if not, it'll probably be me and 𝗫𝗫𝗃. And even if it's not me and 𝗫𝗫𝗃, it will just be me, because obviously I've dedicated time to read the book. So whether it's going to be me, Dusty and 𝗫𝗫𝗃 together, or me and 𝗫𝗫𝗃, or just me, I don't really care at this point. I just want to watch the film myself. So either way, I'm hoping to get a video out for Project Hail Mary, a review, whether it's out of the cinema or here at home. But just thought I'd let you know that is what's coming down the pipeline, other than the Friday the 13th ranking, whenever that will be. But Project Hail Mary hopefully will be out this weekend, because it's already Monday. My head's all over the place. But yeah, Monday, today's Monday, so this weekend, hopefully I'll be finishing this book, so I'll be going into that film with the knowledge of the book, and, you know, it'd be more fun, But anyway, that's what's in store for the channel. So yeah, that's that. So, getting into the ranking for A Nightmare on Elm Street, because obviously I've been putting this video off for obviously various reasons, my memory on these films have kind of drifted off a little bit, annoyingly, but I did write up notes on my Letterboxd reviews for each of these films. Well, most of them, but a couple of them I didn't care to put too much detail in because of my thoughts. But I'm going to try and go back to these reviews and try and remember bits and pieces of the films. More of the films that I didn't like, which, to be honest, are the bottom 4 of this ranking. The bottom 4 films on this ranking are films that I can say I don't really like. And these films, especially the bottom 2, are ones that I just don't remember because of my experience and just how I took the films. So I apologise for the lack of description and my overall thoughts on the films. It's just because they're not very memorable to me. And again, because I postponed this video for a while, my memory has kind of gone with those films. So, yeah, that being said, I think we're just gonna, my history with A Nightmare on Elm Street, there's not really much of a history, really. Regarding how I watched these films, obviously up until this point for doing this ranking, obviously I'd watched the original, and then I think I'd watched the 2010 remake, and then I attempted to try and do this ranking video for a while, even since like 2024. I watched the original, then I watched the second one, then I went back again after a while, first one, second one, and then eventually got to the third one, and then when I started watching the fourth film, I was like, so I stopped. And then now here I am, committed to do this ranking, so I kept going. And so I've revisited this franchise numerous times, but not in its entirety because of my experience with these films, but because of my commitment and me wanting to do this video, I've managed to get through them all, trudge through them all. So yeah, obviously it needs to be said, of course, this ranking is my personal ranking. Please put your ranking of all the A Nightmare on Elm Street films in the comments below. Yeah, and tell me your ranking, because I'll be very curious to see whether or not, if you are a big fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street or not. Please consider putting your ranking in the comments. And yeah, without further ado, this is my ranking of all A Nightmare on Elm Streets, from the worst to the best. Okay, coming in at my number 9 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Oh, God, this was a real trek to get through, especially my number 8, but we'll get to that. Again, I don't have much memory on this film, just because it was just like at this point during this watch of the franchise, this binge watch, I was just like, Jesus Christ, this is so bad. It's just these set of characters from 4 and 5 didn't really care whatsoever. Even Alice, the new character we got introduced to in the 4th film, I'm not really that interested in her, to be honest, especially in this film. Like, she's so dull. Her performance from I think her name is Lisa. It's Lisa something. Let me just quickly check. Lisa Wilcox. Listen, I'm sure she's a lovely person in real life. In person, she's really nice. But I just, as an actress, at least in these films, really didn't do anything for me. So her character was just so boring and bland in both these films. I'll get to 4 when I get to 4. But the 5th film, I don't know, the effects were awful with Freddy Krueger, of course. Freddy, at this point in the franchise, because as each film goes on, he's kind of getting more comedic as he gets on. This is not the most comedic Freddy he is, but for the tone of the film, this is the most comical out of the kind of tonally serious sort of films. It's weird to say, but I'll get to it. But Freddy being pretty much fully comedic now, kind of embarrassing, cringy, I don't know, it's just, I don't like this version of Freddy. His jokes and one-liners are so cringe. I love, obviously, Robert Englund throughout most of these films are great, but this one and a couple of the next films in the franchise, I just think he's just terrible. I know it's technically not his fault, it's more on the script and the script writing, but I just really found his presence in this film embarrassing and so bleh. His makeup effects are just really fucking jarring and awful in this. He has way better makeup effects in the other films, which I'll get to. But yeah, he's horrible in this. Obviously, Robert Englund. Again, Lisa Wilcox as Alice. Lisa Wilcox as Alice is just dull and uninteresting. Even her fucking son, the unborn child that she sees, Jacob, I think his name is. Like, even his side of the thing is just weird, and like part of the whole premise of Freddy hunting down this unborn child is somewhat interesting, but the execution, however, no pun intended, is just so like just real bad, pretty much all across the board. So boring in my opinion. Like even my number 8, which obviously I'm about to get to, I just like these two films. I just found so boring. Didn't find it very. I didn't connect with them really whatsoever. Basically, I just didn't like them. Yeah, just the way that Freddy dies in this as well. Like Jacob projectile vomiting on Freddy to kill him, really fucking stupid. A lot of people praise Dan's death, which is, I think, one of her friends, or no, Alice's love interest. It's kind of coming back to me now. Like, people thought that was cool, and I'm like, eh. And at that point in the film, I was just like, eh. Like, it's alright, I guess, the death, but most of these deaths are really stupid. Like, Freddy feeding one of her friends to death is just really stupid. The comic book death, which some people praise, I'm just like, that's just really fucking stupid. Yeah, just the vast majority of this film is garbage, is rubbish. So that's why it's my number 9, my least favourite Nightmare on Elm Street film, personally. So A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, is my number 9. Okay, coming in at my number 8 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Again, 4 and 5, I just really fucking boring. So they're almost equally boring. I guess what 4 has the upper hand on is, I don't know, I think even though the Dream Warriors get killed off in like the first half hour, which is just really fucking insulting, because as you'll see my another part of the ranking video where I do like Dream Warriors, the third film, but the characters, just all of their characters, obviously Kristen, obviously Patricia Arquette's character from the third film gets replaced by Tuesday Knight, as in with a K, Knight. She's not very good at all as a replacement from Patricia Arquette. And then even the returning actors who played the Dream Warriors in the third film are just poorly performed. Like Kincaid, who's one of the funnier characters in the third film, is just so cringe in this film. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same actor. Let me just double check. Yeah, same actor, but again, they got given a really shit script. Like Joey, he's like with the fucking waterbed and everything, and just, oh god, awful. Robert Englund, again, Freddy, just, I don't know, he's just, again, the comedy really is sinking in at this point for his character. Just Alright, I will say there are 2 lines of dialogue that Freddy Krueger has in this that I was like, kind of chuckled at. Is at the end of the film where Alice, you know, obviously confronts Freddy in the church, whatever church area in the dream, and then Freddy says, "Welcome to Wonderland, Alice," or something like that. And I was like, obviously Alice in Wonderland reference. And then earlier on in the film with Dan, obviously Alice's love interest coming up. Obviously he's being wheeled in from the hospital from an injury or whatever. I can't remember what happened, but he gets wheeled in and say, "Oh, it's Freddy Krueger," and then Freddy's like, "Well, it ain't Dr. Seuss," and I'm like, like, I kind of chuckled at it. I mean, I guess it's something, because throughout the majority, again, like with the fifth film, for the majority of my experience with the film, it was just so dull and boring for me. So those 2 lines, in some way, shape or form, gave this film an upper hand from the fifth film, being my least favourite. But I guess the beginning was sort of intriguing, with again Tuesday Knight's Kristen, obviously, you know, with the children, with, you know, I don't know, the beginning of the film was sort of intriguing with Kristen, seeing again the children, the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for, those kids that pop up in almost every one of these fucking films. Like that first 10-ish minutes was sort of intriguing, but then kind of went downhill from then on. I don't know, just A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, just again with Dream Child, the fifth film, I don't know, just very boring, sets of characters that I didn't really give a shit about. Freddy at this point being overly comedic with his one-liners and just his whole presence. Again, I love Robert Englund as Freddy, but at this point in the franchise, he was just overly comedic for me. And yeah, so 4 and 5 are my least favourites of this franchise. 5 is more shitter because of its effects, and it's just shitter. But yeah, very few commandments I can give to 4, but for the reasons that I've just disclosed, it is slightly razor thin better than the fifth film. But yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master is my number 8. Okay guys, so I'll be honest, my number 7 and my number 6, I kept flipping back and forth constantly before solidifying this ranking for the video. But ultimately, I know this might be a hot take, I don't know, but my number 7 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, which is, of course, the remake. Now, this is... I watched the last half of this film last night because I'd watched the first half of it maybe a few days ago. I've had a lot of things going on personally since starting to watch the remake, but obviously I finished it last night. Didn't really feel like I needed to start from the beginning, so I decided I'll continue from from like the middle-ish area of the film and then to the end. But honestly, like, the only things that I can commend on this film is some of the visuals are kind of cool, with the dream sequences are kind of cool. Despite the writing of his character, Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, because obviously being replaced from Robert Englund, which a lot of people were a bit about. But someone's got to replace Robert Englund at some point, because obviously he's getting old. But Jackie Earle Haley, despite the shit that the writers gave him, I thought he was pretty decent. I will say that for the shit that the studio gave him, the writing, whatever, the direction, whatever, of his character itself, but his performance and his slight change of what Robert Englund gave us in his previous films, I think Jackie Earle Haley's decent. Some of the little details that he has, like his little like finger thing that he does in the film, I was just petting him. Like, I thought that was quite cool. I don't have a very deep voice, so that probably came out as horrendous, but I'll put it in the edit. But yeah, like some of his aspects of his characters were kind of cool. Again, like a couple of his one-liners I liked, and his, well, maybe not his appearance, because his makeup was a bit weird. Very different to Robert Englund's, but I could kind of see where they're going with. But with the vast majority of everything else, the performances, Rooney Mara, who is of course an Oscar-nominated actress at this point, but she gave zero shits about this film, as you can see, because she was half asleep throughout most of this film. God, her Nancy was just so bad. Like, you could tell she could not give a shit about this, and apparently it's on record that she didn't give a fuck about this film, because all she wanted was a paycheck, and it kind of goes to show. Kyle Gallner, I think his name is, who I watched in Strange Darling, which I really liked. I don't know if this is one of his first acting gigs. It's very apparent if it is, but he was fucking cry. It looked like he was about to cry every few seconds. Like, it was just so ridiculous how how that happened. But yeah, I mean, their romance as well, Nancy and Quentin, I think his name is. Their romance, I just did not buy into whatsoever. When they kissed at the end, I was just, oh fucking hell, just end my suffering. Yeah, I just, throughout most, the reason why my number 6, which I'll get to in a second, is a bit further up than this one, number 7, being the remake, is just because this one, despite some of the visuals and some of the things with Jackie Earle Haley's Freddy, everything else is, it's just a shitty knockoff of the original, because they redo some of the scenes from the original film. Tina's death with the bed and the flipping in the shit, the whole school bit where obviously Tina in the body bag gets dragged along the hallway, just and the latex thing where Freddy comes out of the wall when Nancy is on her bed and he comes out, and it's terrible CGI. Like, it was done way better in the original film. Just, again, oh god, I could go on forever about this film, but I just don't want to waste my energy, to be perfectly honest. So oh yeah, the direction of Freddy's character, with predominantly focusing on the child molester side of him, because obviously the molestation side of Freddy in the previous films was kind of subtext, at least in the original. But the child murderer side of Freddy was always present. It was the forefront, and not the molestation. It was very subtext with that, and obviously, you know, in the film with the tongue and everything, like, it was a bit weird, but it wasn't like at the forefront, unlike this remake. So I didn't really like that side of things. It was very awkward, like the scenes with him fucking stroking Nancy and everything, and just all that shit I just didn't like personally. So yeah, that's why A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 is my number 7. Right, this is going to be a very hot take, I can just tell, but I have to be honest. My number 6 is going to be Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Now, on a technical level, this is the worst one of all these films. But because up until this point of watching this film, I had watched 4 and 5, Dream Master and Dream Child, I was bored out of my mind throughout the majority of those experiences of watching those films. Whereas with Freddy's Dead, I was coming into it knowing that it was going to be terrible and laughably bad, but I was hoping at least I was going to laugh at how bad it is, because that's better. That's always better than sitting there bored as hell, ashen-faced, just like, shit, what am I watching? Which, at one point in the film, I will say that was how I felt, but most of this film, I was at least laughing at it, unlike 4 and 5, and I guess the 2010 remake as well. So it sounds mental when I put Freddy's Dead at number 6 and above the remake in 4 and 5, but I have to be honest, in terms of my experience, I had more fun watching this. Yes, everything, I will not argue with anyone in saying that this is the worst piece of shit in this entire franchise, but I couldn't lie to you and say that I did not have fun watching the film because of how bad it was. The acting is terrible, the characters are terrible, the effects are terrible, just the whole look of it is terrible. Freddy is just a Looney Tunes cartoon at this point, but at this point, fuck it. I was like, you know what, yes, for the character's sake and everything, it's just gone downhill, but I kind of had fun, I'll be honest. So I have to be honest in saying that. Again, technically, this is the worst one in this franchise, but because of my experience of watching the film after 4 and 5, I was like, yeah, this is better than those two films, just because I had more fun. It's shitter than them, but again, had a slightly better experience watching this than I did with 4 and 5, and then obviously with watching the remake, I was expecting the remake to be better than Freddy's Dead at least, but I was like, I don't know, which is why I was saying Freddy's Dead and the remake were kind of flipping back and forth of which is going to be 6 and which is going to be number 7. But I have to be honest, I had slightly more fun with Freddy's Dead than I did with the remake, and of course 4 and 5, so not really much else to say about Freddy's Dead, to be honest, because again, a lot of it is forgettable. The way that Freddy dies in this is also very fucking stupid. The whole 3D effects, the CGI is terrible, the fish, no idea what the fuck that is, but fuck it. His long lost daughter, fucking stupid, but alright. But yeah, again, technically the worst one of the franchise. I can understand people saying this is the worst piece of shit they've ever seen, or one of the worst pieces of shit they've ever seen, but I have to be honest, in terms of my experience, this is not my least favourite of the franchise because of that. So, yeah. Not really much else to really say on Freddy's Dead, other than, yes, it's really shit, but I had somewhat fun with it. So, because of that, it's my number 6. So, yeah. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, is my number 6. Okay, now we've moved from the shitty films in the franchise. From number 5 until number 1, these are films that I like to love. So, that being said, my number 5 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. I almost forgot the title of the fucking film. But yeah, Freddy's Revenge. I've heard mixed things on this film. Some people love it, some people hate it. I don't love the film, but I don't hate it either. I kind of like, I mean, the characters are okay, but they're certainly better than the fucking shit that they were in the bottom ones that I have. But, I don't mind following, Jesse. Like, obviously, he's a closeted homosexual in this film, and obviously this is therefore one of the most gayest, horror films, or at least slasher films in the whole subgenre of horror, but I didn't hate that, personally. I found it kind of fun, and, yeah, I don't mind Jesse. He's a bit of a limp wrist most of the time, but it's certainly better than the shit that came after, most of the shit that came out after. But yeah, Mark Patton, I hate hearing the story that he had while making the film, that obviously he himself was a closeted homosexual, and he was kind of forced to kind of come out in doing this for the character. That was really shitty of the production crew and everything. Like, I don't know why they did that. I wish he didn't have to go forward with that, but, you know, I guess, you know, because of history, that happened. But in terms of the character, like, he was okay. Like, the whole thing of being possessed by Freddy, I really like that. Lisa Weber, the love interest, I guess you could say, the one that's trying to bring him into his homosexuality and trying to not get him into his gay side, which Freddy is. Freddy is the kind of personification of the homosexuality of him, and then Lisa's trying to push him away from that, and I'm like, no, let him be who he wants to be, man. But obviously, because it's a Nightmare on Elm Street, and obviously they have to defeat Freddy, that's what they have to do. And like, I don't hate it. A lot of people don't like the pool party scene, because obviously that kind of goes against the whole nightmare aspect and with how the rules go with these films, like Freddy coming out into the real world. You're all my children now. And I was like, I'll suspend some of my disbelief for that. I mean, it's kind of cool. Is it a cool scene to look at? Yes. Does it kind of go against the rules? Yes. But I kind of found it fun, like him coming to the real world and killing people. But I know it's against the rules, but I can kind of suspend my disbelief for that, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, again, part 2, Freddy's Revenge. I honestly, I kind of had fun with it. Like, again, the whole possession side of things, like Freddy possessing Jesse and trying to, obviously possess him. I like that. I did like that. And the scene in the bedroom with him dancing to forgotten the song, but him dancing in the bed, and then his mum and Lisa coming in. That was funny. I mean, it's kind of awkward. You're like, oh god, yeah. But look, this film was fun to me. Is it the best? Of course, it's not the best of the franchise, but it's certainly good compared to most of the shit that I've already mentioned in this franchise. But yeah, I had fun with Freddy's Revenge. Let me know in the comments below how you responded to this film, whether you liked it or not. And yeah, I think Freddy in this I think Robert Englund is the most scariest as Freddy in this. Like, I think it's a very creepy presence. I mean, he has a different eye colour. His makeup looks a bit different, especially from the first film. But I didn't mind that. I liked the scary side of Freddy. I definitely like scarier Freddy more than funny Freddy, especially on these later films. But yeah, I like this version of Freddy, despite him coming into the real world and killing all the actual children in the real world. But I like that. The beginning of the film was kind of intriguing as well, on the school bus and everything. Like, that was kind of cool. Yeah, not really much else to say, really. So yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge is my number 5. Alright, coming in at my number 4 is going to be Freddy vs. Jason. Of course, this is the crossover film with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. Freddy and Jason finally come together and have a brawl. Now, I was obviously told this is a very fun film. The fact that, again, it's a crossover film, it's like Godzilla and Kong coming together and fighting. It's like two of these big franchise icons coming together and fighting and having a fucking brawl is fun. And it was fun. It was really fun. I mean, sure, the proper fight didn't come until like the very end of the film, the last like 15 minutes of the film, I'd say. But it was worth waiting for. It was worth it, because obviously throughout the whole film we saw Jason take out a lot of teenagers, obviously, which is what he does in the Friday the 13th films, from ones that I've watched, which isn't very many at this point. I haven't watched many of the Friday the 13th films. I've only watched the first 2 in the remake. But from what I've seen of those and what I remember from it, that's what he does, and he does it well. Ken Koziner as Jason, which I can't really speak on at this point, because obviously this is a Nightmare on Elm Street ranking, and I want to talk about Freddy, which I actually will. I won't talk about Ken Koziner as Jason, because I'll talk about that in the ranking when I bring this up in the Friday the 13th ranking. But in terms of Freddy in this film, he does get a little bit diluted because of Jason, because Jason gets more kills in this than Freddy does. I think Freddy only gets, is it 1 kill? Is it 2? I think it's like 1 kill, I think. Which is a bit of a lackluster thing, but I think Freddy himself, despite the lack of kills that he has in this film, I think Robert Englund, again, I think has a great balance of comedy and scariness. Because obviously in the third film, Dream Warriors, I think a lot of people can agree that he has the best balance of of being funny and being scary, but this is the second best I would say he has at balancing the funny and the scary of Freddy Krueger, but or of the character Freddy. But yeah, it was just a ton of fun getting to see Freddy and Jason brawl. Just I love the whole realization of Freddy coming out from the dream world into the real world and realizing, oh shit, I'm in the real world and Jason's there and he's about to kick my ass, but he's like, nope, I'm gonna kick his ass. And I like that there's not a definitive winner, which I will, whenever I watch these versus films between these two kind of iconic characters, I'm usually a bit annoyed, like, oh, they don't have a definitive winner. But in this instance, apparently Ronnie Yu, the director of this film, who also did Bride of Chucky, one of the Child's Play films, he didn't want to have a definitive winner because there didn't want to be any outcries from fans of both sides of the fandoms, because it's like, Freddy wins, it's like, oh, they like Freddy more, and they diminished Jason. Or if Jason won, they'd be like, oh, they like Friday the 13th more. So I like that they had this compromise where they both had their best moments of killing, obviously, the teenagers, sort of, with Freddy, but they had their best moments of going at each other. They had great moments of hitting each other and everything and having their upper hand. Sometimes Freddy had the upper hand and sometimes Jason had the upper hand, but obviously Freddy had more of the upper hand in the dream world when they did fight a little bit. They had a little bit of a scrap, and then when obviously Freddy came into the real world, mostly Jason kicked his ass. So it was cool that they had a good balance of who was winning and who had the upper hand and all that kind of stuff. Character-wise, minus Jason and Freddy, they're not really much to write home about. I think the only memorable character that I can think of is, trying to remember her name now, the actual character's name, but yeah, Katherine Isabelle as Gib. I know Katherine Isabelle from Ginger Snaps, and I really like Ginger Snaps, and she's like the only non-Freddy or Jason character that I actually liked. But she does get killed off, unfortunately, early on in the film. But I liked her. Everyone else kind of canon fodder, really. Like, I didn't really care that much about the other characters, but they weren't a fucking trek to follow, at least with some of the other films. But look, listen, we came to see Freddy and Jason fight. That's what we got eventually, but it was worth waiting for, and seeing the final battle between each other. Yeah, that's all that we have, really. So yeah, Freddy vs. Jason is my number 5. No, number 4. Right, my top 3. Now, honestly, they're all almost neck and neck with each other, but to solidify this ranking, obviously with process of elimination, we have the original Nightmare on Elm Street, we have Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, and we also have Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So, I really like all 3 of these films in varying levels of degree and why I like them. But if I have to be honest, my number 3 is going to be Wes Craven's New Nightmare. At this point in the franchise, Wes Craven returned with a bang, and with Scream 0.5. What I love about this film is, with what I just said, Scream 0.5, if you can tell. It's meta, and I love Scream. Obviously, I've reviewed Scream on the channel before. I've talked about Scream, and I love the franchise as a whole. But I just love the meta commentary and the whole meta aspect of the film, being that obviously the film is supposed to represent real life things. Obviously, we're following Heather Langenkamp as herself, but also a little bit as Nancy as well, and the way they incorporated all the little elements is just so cool. Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, but also Robert Englund as himself as well, which is really cool, getting to see him actually in a film without having the Freddy makeup on, which is so cool. I guess other than the slight bit in Freddy vs. Jason at the beginning when we see when he narrates and we get to see him a glimpse without the Freddy makeup on, but in terms of as a whole, seeing Robert Englund represented in this film as Robert Englund himself is really cool. It's really, really cool. We get to see Wes Craven as well as the director trying to write this new film, which is obviously supposed to be New Nightmare, which at the end we see. I don't know, I just found it really cool. Very cool getting to see the meta side of this thing. Like, I wasn't sure how this is going to work, but obviously it's Wes Craven. He did Scream. Obviously this is before he did Scream, just before he did Scream. But he did it really well. I really like this. Obviously, Freddy trying to kill Nancy and her son, that whole thing, and obviously her son being possessed, again being traumatized by Freddy and everything, and changing because he's watched the film. That whole thing was really cool. Obviously, I know Freddy only gets 2 kills in this film, and he's rarely shown in the film, which I honestly think it's quite effective. Like the phone calls, obviously with Nancy or Heather Langenkamp in this instance, like that was really cool. Her meeting up with Wes Craven, again saying Wes Craven, like, I know he isn't the best with the acting capabilities, but it's just cool getting to see him and his character and how he's shown in the film, as well as the other characters. You got like Rob Shea, one of the producers, like he was alright, but you know, it's cool. It's just cool seeing New Line Cinema, that whole thing. I don't know, like I thought it was really cool. I just found the meta side of things really clever, and yeah, this is definitely one of the. If I were to revisit this franchise and pick up one of the films, this is definitely one of the 3 of these top 3 films I would definitely pick up and want to watch as a standalone experience. So yeah, I think it's a good standalone film as well. I mean, it's always better when you watch some of the other films, especially 1 and 3. But I honestly think that it's a lot of fun. It's a genuinely great film, and that is why Wes Craven's New Nightmare is my number 3. Right, top 2 now. My number 2 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Yes, Dream Warriors, my number 2. Honestly, the original and the third film is most debated which is the best of the franchise. Well, mostly debated. And coming back, revisiting this, because this is my second time revisiting and watching Dream Warriors, I was like, is it going to be better than the original? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I was like, I do like the fun of Dream Warriors, but I'll get to the original, which of course plus elimination. But what I love about Dream Warriors is it does well with the fun and the serious tone of this franchise. Like, you have Freddy, which again, the perfect balance between funny Freddy and scary Freddy. The funny side of Freddy isn't cringe, it's quite funny and fun. It's prime time, bitch! the whole TV kill. You have a let's get high, something like that. I think of like great lines, great delivery from Robert Englund, the best balance between scary and fun Freddy. Heather Langenkamp back as Nancy. I would say she's the second. I mean, since watching Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I will say, I forgot to say actually, that I think Heather Langenkamp in New Nightmare is my favourite iteration of her character. But I think this is her second best in Dream Warriors. Nancy Thompson is her second best iteration of her character. I don't know, I like that obviously she's become a psychiatric, a doctor, basically, trying to help the kids in this hospital. She's trying to, you know, she noticed that she obviously these kids are going through the same things that she did when she was younger, and she tries to help them, and obviously you find out that they can kind of dream, they can kind of go in their same dreams and interact with each other and try and defeat Freddy, and that whole thing was just so cool. It was really fun. The effects, some of them don't age very well, like the Freddy worm. I think it's a worm. Is it a worm? Freddy worm. It's kind of gross, like him eating, trying to attempt to eat Kristen. Like, that was a bit weird. But you know, when he's like in the air and everything, there's a weird it's fucking jarring to look at. But despite some of the CGI effects, or practical effects, or whatever it is, the effects, you know, again, fun, memorable. Freddy's really fun to follow. These set of characters are arguably the best in the whole franchise, just because they have every one of these, at least these child actors' personalities, they have their own set of different. They have great chemistry with each other. These new set of characters. They have their own personalities, which is great. Kincaid is great. Kristen's great. Patricia Arquette, Kristen's great. Joey's great as well. Obviously, you know, his whole thing with, you know, being scared of girls. Obviously, she's trying to be nice to this one nurse, and then obviously we see that later on in the film with the dream sequence that obviously it's not really the nurse, and it's Freddy trying to manipulate Joey into trying killing him. You know, with his naked body and everything like that. I found that kind of funny, and you know, but yeah, I just really like this film, which is why it's my number 2. Yeah, Dream Warriors is so much fun. The song I've listened to constantly since revisiting this film. Dream Warriors. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Dream Warriors. Why not be my number 1? But it's certainly the best. Well, again, with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I think for now it's my favourite sequel in this franchise, but obviously there is a better one than Dream Warriors in my opinion, so let's get to that one. So Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors is my number 2, and of course a number 1, not really any surprise, is the original Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, Wes Craven's classic. I think this is actually Wes Craven's breakout film. Obviously this is before Scream. I think this is after The Hills Have Eyes, but this film really solidified his career and jump-started his career at least, I think, and being popular. And it goes to show like a fantastic premise of this terrifying looking figure haunting people's dreams, and basically if you're asleep you're pretty much fucked, because if you don't wake up you're dead, you get killed by Freddy. I mean, it's a fucking terrifying premise in itself. Like, honestly, the premise is just so, like, it's honestly, like, it's not my favourite horror film. I'd say it's one of my favourites now, having rewatched it, but it's certainly, absolutely, probably the best horror premise ever, just because of, you know, again, being that you're in a dream, you could be killed for real if you don't wake up, and obviously you're, after a while of not sleeping, you're just so like you're so tired, you want to go to sleep but you can't, because if you do then you could die. It's just so terrifying. Like, brilliant execution from Wes Craven. I mean, the ending is a little bit with the whole fucking, obviously when you think everything's resolved and everything, obviously I think Wes Craven and the producer Rob Shea, who I briefly mentioned earlier in New Nightmare, apparently they had to have like they had to make like a joint decision in making, because Wes Craven wanted to make a standalone film, whereas Rob Shea wanted to make more sequels, so they had to have this kind of joint decision, where a compromise, that's the word. They wanted to have a joint compromise so that there would be an ending where obviously Freddy's defeated and doesn't come back, but at the very end we see Rob Shea's wanting decision where obviously Freddy's not already dead, they're actually in a dream and in the car. The whole thing, yeah, it's a bit ridiculous, but I can kind of let that go a little bit. I could watch up until when Nancy leaves the room and then she comes out of the house and it's all white and dreamy and everything. But yeah, I think the original is just, it is a classic in itself, just on a premise level. Obviously Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. I mean, just an absolute, like, one of the best looking horror icons. He might be my favourite now, but the best looking, with his glove, his red and green jumper or sweater, and his bowler hat, not bowler hat, the hat. It's just so iconic. His burnt appearance is iconic. The acting from Robert Englund in this film is just so iconic. Nancy, played by obviously Heather Langenkamp, which obviously I've already mentioned in these other films. She's great. She's not at her prime at this point. She's better in 3 and a New Nightmare, in my opinion, probably because of character development. But I do like Nancy. Not one of my favourite final girls, but she's good. Tina, the girl that we get to see killed, the bed kill, iconic. Yeah, I mean, not really much else to really say on A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. I mean, there's not really much else to say. I mean, fairly good characters. I mean, you know, the teenage characters are fairly good. Obviously, Johnny Depp's debut role, and he does fairly well as Glenn. I mean, his death, while being kind of cool, a bit annoying because I think the deaths, most of these deaths are really well executed in the sense that obviously it's either a homicide or a suicide, where it's like, oh god, they're either killed, a realistic kill, or they've taken their knife. But Glenn's kill is very supernatural, where obviously he gets sunk in from his bed and all the blood squirts out, and that's very unrealistic, and that's one of the kills that some people say is a bit like, could have been done better, Wes Craven, but it's kind of fun to look at, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. But yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, is currently my favourite. Again, 1, 3, and New Nightmare, they could constantly change, but in terms of to solidify this ranking, that's my top 3, and of course my overall ranking of these films. That's really it. So yeah, let's get back into regular position. Okay, right, that is it, guys. I'm already out of breath because I rarely speak this long, to be honest. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this ranking video, guys. Let me know in the comments below how you would rank the Nightmare on Elm Street films from worst to best. Yeah, I don't know, tell me what's your favourite Freddy Krueger performances, which is your favourite, I don't know what I'm saying at this point, just what's your favourite Nightmare on Elm Street film, ranking them from worst to best or best to worst, among other things, I guess. So, yeah, again, Project Hail Mary, hopefully that review will come out this weekend, fingers crossed, depending on what happens. But if it's not going to be with Dusty and NerdTube, either of them, then it's probably just going to be me, whether it's in the cinema or here at home, I don't know. But hopefully going to finish this book before the weekend. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you sticking around and seeing my ranking of all these films. And again, I'm going to try and get started with the Friday the 13th films as soon as I can, but obviously I've got work to do as well, so that's obviously a priority for me as well. So, but when I do get to the Friday the 13th films, hopefully it'll be fun to rank and order them and discuss my interests and what I don't like about them. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, once again, and I will probably see you in the next video, which very well could be Project Hail Mary again, whether it's just me with Dusty and NerdTube, I don't know, but we'll see. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you then. Bye bye.